The presidential races are heating up, and we're all waiting with bated breath to figure out who is the Libertarian Party's candidate. We don't know for sure, but okay. In the meantime, the news coming out of D.C. is that Joe Biden mercilessly abuses his staff. And you know what? It's a good thing. These people are in a cult. They are acting like being mercilessly berated by a man is normal. Part of the initiation. In fact, if Joe Biden isn't screaming in your face, it means he doesn't respect you. Yeah, some are calling it Stockholm syndrome, that they are so desperate to be a part of whatever their ridiculous cult is, they will line up behind anybody. But you know what? As we talk about politics, I've got choice words for all the other candidates. Man, y'all need to chill out. You got DeSantis people. I'm sorry. I'm just going to tell you. The DeSantis fans are some of the most insufferable people. Not everyone on their campaign, not everyone who supports them. I'm saying he just happens to have some very serious sycophants. Even when I call out the media for lying about DeSantis, they're still trying to insult me. So please, fine. Let DeSantis lose. Yeah, right now the media is coming out saying that Ron DeSantis claims Trump colluded with big tech to hurt himself. That's not really what happened. DeSantis criticized the intelligence agencies and said Trump should have fired him. DeSantis is correct, of course. And the response I get from a bunch of DeSantis supporters when I tweet this out is, yeah, well, you know what? Where's the Guo check? You're a Trump pundit, blah, blah, blah. And I got to imagine, I'm assuming these DeSantis supporters aren't actually DeSantis supporters. They are people masquerading as DeSantis supporters in an effort to make Trump win. Because I'll tell you what happens for a lot of people. If you're just hearing constant insults from a group of people, they're going to direct that at Ron DeSantis. And Ron DeSantis doesn't have the wherewithal to tell people who support him not to do it. And so there's no real winning this. If people really are running sock puppets, pretending to be DeSantis supporters while hindering his campaign, how do you compete against it? I think the reality is, Occam's razor suggests, these are just actual DeSantis supporters who are insufferable. But we'll talk about that. The first thing I want to talk about is the insufferable nature of Biden supporters. And then, yes, I will talk about a bit of the insufferable nature of Trump supporters. Because, oh boy, as we get into the presidential season, there is one thing that I believe we can guarantee. People will be turning off their TVs, tuning out and saying, y'all can go do whatever you want because the lying is annoying. Yes. Here's the Axios story. In public, President Biden likes to whisper to make a point. In private, he's prone to yelling. Behind closed doors, Biden has such a quick trigger temper that some aides try to avoid meeting alone with him. Some take a colleague almost as a shield against a solo blast. The president's admonitions include, GD, how the F don't you know this? Don't effing BS me. Get the F out of here. Oh, man. According to current and former Biden aides who have witnessed and been on the receiving end of such outbursts. Why it matters? The private eruptions paint a more complicated picture of Biden as a manager and president than his carefully cultivated image as a kindly uncle who loves aviator sunglasses and ice cream. All right, I'll take the bait. You know what? Here's what I think is actually happening. Joe Biden is demented. He is incapable of doing this job. And he is a bumbling old man in aviator sunglasses and ice cream who whispers a lot. This is an attempt to cultivate an image of someone who is actually strong. Oh, behind closed doors, he's actually very aggressive and yelling at people. Yo, behind closed doors, dude's probably in a wheelchair with a blanket on his lap in the sun sleeping. They give him his oxygen blast and his NAD IV treatment and uppers to get him on TV for 10 minutes, and then he goes back and goes to sleep. He's had these press events where he's got CPAP marks on his face, and people, and they're saying like, those are marks from sleeping because a CPAP machine. And it's like, dude, okay, perhaps that's true. But you mean to tell me that he woke up, put on a suit, took a shower, got ready, and the marks remained on his face? Something just doesn't add up with that. Unless it ain't a CPAP machine, it's something else. Maybe they have him on supplemental oxygen after he's already ready, right before he goes out to make sure he is spry. Because old man be sundowning. Look at this one. Some Biden aides think the president would be better off occasionally displaying his temper in public as a way to assuage voter concerns that the 80-year-old president is disengaged and too old for the office. Okay, you see, they're really trying to ham this one up. Oh, we wish he would be angry in public to prove it because he's actually very tough. Sure, this is where we're at. The Biden administration knows that when it comes to the election, he ain't got it. Let's take a look over the prediction markets for the Democrats. Joe Biden currently leading the primary polling with 68 cents on predicted. Do you know why this is apocalyptically bad for Joe Biden? Because he's the incumbent. There should not be a primary, but the fact that we have one shows it. Now, Robert Kennedy Jr., okay, at 11 cents. You might argue they don't really want to have a primary. They're not intending to have a primary, but he's being challenged by RFK. Okay, well, RFK maybe isn't your typical establishment Democrat, but Gavin Newsom's right there getting ready for his national tour. You think he's not going to run? The idea that Joe Biden will be the presidential nominee is shocking to me. Like that people believe he will be. He's in his 80s. He's well past the average life expectancy for an adult American male. I wish him the best. I think he should use the best of his years and go have a good day with all that money he got from China or, wherever it came from. Or, I'm sorry, from his son. Is that the allegation? Let's just say wherever their money reportedly came from, I don't know. I hope he enjoys it. But it's time to move on. And I think the prediction markets show that. And this is an attempt to just make it seem like, well, he's actually really tough. This is going to be a fun election season. But the reality here is, I find all of it insufferable. Everyone's lying. And I myself am ready to check out. Because I ask myself this question. When I'm producing a segment as we begin to track the presidential election, should I? And I'm like, a lot of people aren't going to want to watch it. Of course, as you know, I like to hang out at the poker room. Talking to a guy, he said, hey, man, I used to watch your show all the time. I said, used to. And he was like, I just can't do politics anymore. I'm like, I hear that. I hear that, dude. Because it is so dirty. It is so just awful, the lies, the cheating, the stealing. Take a look at this. Ron DeSantis plummeting in the prediction markets down to 22 cents, just getting worse and worse. Trump, of course, on the rise. Now, most people right now are predicting that Joe Biden will be the president in 2025. He's going to win the 2024 presidential election. Donald Trump with 31 cents, DeSantis with 14. I don't think it's funny that Tim Scott and Vivek Ramaswamy are doing so well in the primary polling, but they're not registering at all in the who will win the presidential election. Even Pete Buttigieg is on the list and they're not. But you really think Joe Biden? I'm sorry, that sounds like a really, really bad bet. Now, the question about Ron DeSantis, I think that's also a really bad bet. I do not see Ron DeSantis taking it. Let's talk news and the presidential races on the Republican side. Who might be Trump's pick for vice president? A look at the central questions, potential contenders, and how each might fit. There's Trump pointing to Kari Lake. I don't see it. Kari Lake is running in Arizona. That's the path forward for her. Arizona Senate seems to make a lot of sense. If Trump does win, it would make sense that he would appoint her as press secretary. She would do a fantastic job. Let's see if they give us a list. They don't. Do they really? Okay, the base and the loyalty plays. You got Kari Lake, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Marsha Blackburn, and Josh Hawley. I don't see it. I don't see it. Kari Lake's a maybe, but I really don't think so because she's got her eyes set on Arizona and she wants to win there. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I don't see it. She just got elected governor. She's got a path there. It would be weird if she just jumped ship. Marjorie Taylor Greene, perhaps. Strong firebrand female candidate. It's a maybe, but I'm leaning towards, man, I don't know about that one. Marsha Blackburn and Josh Hawley are no's from me. I don't see it. Tim Scott, possibly. That's a possibility. Stefanik, no way. Haley, no way. Reynolds, no way. Kristi Noem, maybe. And then we come to Ron DeSantis. You got Glenn Youngkin, but I really doubt it. Ron DeSantis is, I'm going to go ahead and say, just an outright no. Because his base has been insufferable. He's backed by neocons. I don't see this bridge being mended. It is insufferable dealing with DeSantis supporters. And you know what? If you find yourself as a DeSantis supporter, y'all better do some strong reflecting because the tweets you send at me and whatever you're saying, I don't care. I'm going to call it like I see it. Even when I call the media for lying about DeSantis supporters are still insulting me and still commenting negative things and being generally insufferable. And you know what? I'm not so emotionally shallow that some random moron on Twitter insulting me is going to make me not support Ron DeSantis. The issue with Ron DeSantis is that his campaign put out a deep fake image to smear Trump, and they won't own up to it. It is pathetic. It is the most spineless and pathetic thing a presidential candidate could be. We are not in the days of Hillary Clinton putting on a fake Southern drawl. Okay, so how about you just own it and we can all move on? But if you can't do that, you don't have my support. Now, that also means that if the media is lying, I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to call out the media for lying, which brings me to this insane lie about Ron DeSantis, which, of course, was pushed by many Trump supporters. From the Hill, DeSantis accuses Trump administration of colluding with big tech to bury Hunter Biden's story in 2020. As Michael Malice would say, factual but not truthful. The reality is, Ron DeSantis correctly criticized Donald Trump for not firing people in the intelligence agencies who were violating the First Amendment rights of many American citizens. And oh boy, Trump supporters, y'all don't want to play this game with me. You're going to lose. And that being said, I'm loving the incessant whinging from DeSantis supporters, even when I call it the media for lying. I'll say it again. Ain't nobody getting quarter here. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis Sunday accused Trump administration agencies of colluding with big tech to bury the Hunter Biden story. Yes, that's technically the truth, but it's factual and untruthful. They make it seem like Trump himself played a role in it or something like this. Spare me. Here's the actual quote. I look back at the Hunter Biden censorship, which was a huge deal to happen in the 2020 election. And yet those were Donald Trump's own agencies that were colluding with big tech. I would never allow that to happen. I would fire those people immediately, DeSantis told Maria Bartiromo in an interview on Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures. Republicans have raised concerns about alleged collusion, et cetera, et cetera. And what did we see from many Trump supporters? Jack Posobiec, a good friend, he said, quote, he colluded against himself. It's a mischaracterization. I don't take kindly to it. Laura Loomer and many others also made similar points. Now, you can argue Jack Posobiec is being tongue-in-cheek when he says he colluded against himself. Jack Posobiec is not literally attacking Ron DeSantis. He's just putting it in quotes. So, this one I'm less critical of, but still. A mischaracterization on the part of the Hill that should be called out by Trump supporters. Don't play that DeSantis game. Don't play that Democrat game. Don't play that neocon, neo-lib corporate politician garbage. Just say, look, man, here's why I disagree with DeSantis. This is not true. Let's talk about it. A lot of people have said, no, come on. Trump didn't know about the collusion, so he could not have even fired them. DeSantis is mischaracterizing. Wrong. I went to the White House social media summit. Donald Trump knew there was a problem of censorship and he should have investigated, but he wasn't doing it. And they say, but he didn't know what the agencies were doing. Sure, he may have known there was a problem. No, there were many people talking about this. There were lawsuits. I was in a room full of people. This was a part of the conversation. We did not know to what extent the involvement existed, but enough was there for anyone in the Trump administration to begin looking into this, and they could have uncovered it. They did not. This is not a question of Donald Trump ignoring a problem. It's a question of them dropping the ball. It's not, which is much less serious. My point here is to say Trump should have fired them, a little bit of an overreach. Trump didn't know. My response would be Trump should have known. He should have looked into this. However, I'm just going to tell you right now, everybody just pushing whatever they want to put. It is just so insufferable, to say it again. Yeah. Look, this is the first presidential primary we've had in a long time on the Republican side. And, it's just, geez. You had Trump and everybody else. And I wasn't doing hard commentary. And now we're coming on, it's been a while. It's been quite a long time, 8 years or so to the next primary. Can you believe it? And now you can see all the Republicans coming at each other's throats. It's cringe. I'm sorry, it is. But I got to be honest, the Trump supporters are being a bit more honest about it than the DeSantis supporters are. The DeSantis supporters are acting just like Democrats, mischaracterizing Donald Trump, things like this. When the Trump supporters do it to DeSantis, I'm going to call it out all the same. But sorry, guys, no quarter here. Y'all are going to be insufferable and insult me even if I call the media for lying. I am not going to be defending you. Cernovich, with one of the best points that has been made in a while. We saw Candace Owens over the Daily Wire say that, I'm sorry, DeSantis' campaign is done. Okay, he's failed. He's made too many mistakes. It's over. Cernovich says there's no path for him to the presidency. I agree. He says literally all DeSantis had to do was walk inside a movie theater for Sound of Freedom, and he'd be getting nonstop coverage for all the right reasons. Without getting into it with Trump, they can't even do basics. They don't understand anything. He has no path to the presidency. It's really amazing. The Sound of Freedom, a tremendously important piece of culture, media that we have produced here in the United States. It was made 5 years ago. It was recently released. It's smashing the box office, on track to make 40-50 million bucks in its first week. I will tell you this all right now, my friends. Go see this movie. It is a great movie. I say 10 out of 10. And the reason why, as I've said before, strikes at a real world issue based on a true story. So the story matters, but it's extremely well done. You will be on the edge of your seat. You will be in tears. You will be having a true experience at the theaters, not had in a long time. I love me some superhero movies. They're fun entertainment. This was something a bit more. It was an entertaining movie with some good action, some suspense, some drama, some plotting and like a heist. And the story mattered. It's really great. It's really, really great. Ultimately, back to the presidency, any one of the Republican candidates could have went to see this movie and then come out, and they're not doing it because they don't got their finger on the pulse. Cernovich is correct. Could you imagine if Ron DeSantis went to see this movie, photos being taken of him as he goes in, he comes out and says, what a truly amazing film. Really well done, guys. These are the kind of things we should be focusing on fighting. Trafficking's a serious problem. Let's bring about some positive change in this world. Thank you. Boom. Spike in the polls. Why is it that Ron DeSantis is dropping in the polls? Take a look at this from Interactive Polls. 2024 general election, Florida. Trump, 49 points above, 49% to Biden's 39%. But hold on there. DeSantis is doing better. Unsurprising in Florida. DeSantis versus Biden in this state, 49-36. He actually finds a decent lead. I think I retweeted it, however. I want to, here we go. However, in Florida, Trump is leading DeSantis by 20 points. That's fascinating. When it comes to Trump versus Biden in Florida, Trump wins by 10. When it comes to DeSantis versus Biden, DeSantis wins by 13. That stands to reason that you'd say most people think DeSantis should be the candidate if they're in Florida. Not so. Not so. It could be among moderates, and this is important, and it shows you the rift. When it comes to the Republican primary, Trump is up 20 points. If you put it two-way, Trump is up 17 points. That means, news for the Trump supporters, DeSantis does well among people who are not Republicans, and there's an opportunity there. But if you cannot win DeSantis because you are attacking from the right and it's not working, you're going to lose. DeSantis attacked Trump on LGBT issues. LGBT issues. We saw it. And I think DeSantis deserves credit to a great degree. I believe to a certain degree is a mischaracterization of Trump's position. But Trump, there are some areas where DeSantis has done way, way better. And that's what we like him for. His policies on getting these books out of schools, culture war issues, keeping children out of sex shows and all that stuff. We don't want children being abused. He's doing a good job. COVID policy, he did a good job. Trump, you can say he didn't do as good a job. The problem, he doesn't actually know how to win a Republican primary. Trump won a Republican primary while supporting LGBTQ issues. Isn't that something? DeSantis could have just shown up to that movie. He'd be winning. Instead, what do we see? Unfortunately for Ron DeSantis, he keeps dropping. And it's sad to see. Let's take Tim Scott out of here. And you can see DeSantis continues to drop. DeSantis was at, where are we at? 34 cents per share 1 month ago. After a month, he has dropped down to 22 cents. These are not polls. You need to understand Predicted and why I think Predicted is actually better than many polling. Predicted are individuals who think there is a path to profitability in accurately predicting who will win. These are people who are watching the news, reading, and all coming together and buying and trading shares, which shows you the mentality of those who are tracking the news. I'm sure some people come in to buy shares, don't pay attention. They say, hey, it'll probably be Trump. But most of these people are trying to game a system to make money. You buy a share of DeSantis at 22 cents. You hope it goes to 24. You sell at a profit. They're suggesting as the number goes down, the likelihood of him winning is decreasing. And Donald Trump is now at 60 cents. He's the favorite. That means if you buy one share at 60 cents and Trump becomes the nominee, you get $1. Less than 1 for 1. If you buy a share of DeSantis and he becomes the nominee, you're getting nearly 5 times your money. Seems like a bet worth making to the average person, right? No. Because the average person, and this is why the price is going down, is saying, I don't think it's worth it. 5 times my money? Yeah, but he's not going to win. That's unfortunate. I like DeSantis, I do. But he's surrounded by really awful people. He's got a bad press team. They're some of the worst. They have been spiraling his campaign, and it's palpable. You can see it. Yo, pay attention, DeSantis campaign. They don't. And then, of course, we've got the endless scandals and controversies. He can't handle it. Cernovich said there's no path to the presidency. Candace Owens said he's done. I don't know that he's done. I don't want to make a bold statement because I really don't know. Who knows? 22 cents? We'll see. But I do feel like with all the blunders, they're in serious trouble. I don't think he has what it takes. You can look at the fervent zealotry of the Biden camp, willing to just pretend or defend abuse from the guy. Ron DeSantis can't muster it. And his supporters, I said it before, they're just screeching endlessly and driving people away. I'll tell you this. The insufferable nature of the DeSantis supporters makes me really, really, really hope he loses just to spite them. But I'm not so emotionally shallow as I've said. I just want a good leader. And I think Ron DeSantis has done a good job in a lot of ways. I think he's better than Trump in a lot of ways. Policy-wise, leadership-wise. You know what the problem is? For one, I really want to see bureaucrats fired. Weird. That's what I want to see. I think Trump's more likely to do it. And I'm getting attacked by DeSantis supporters for it. But Ron doesn't have the charisma. And he doesn't have the tact to weed out the bad people surrounding him. That's why I think it's more likely that he loses. I guess we'll see. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.